systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is going on, SHIPIT Nation, YouTube station? We are back with the Friday edition of the NBA show. It is snowing outside, BJ. It's been snowing since about 8 a.m. this morning. It's a winter wonderland over here in Tennessee. Hopefully you and everybody else in California is staying safe. Stay safe out there. Stay safe anywhere you are. I'll bring you right in, man. How's your Friday going? How was the week going? I know we didn't succeed in that 888 on Wednesday, but hey, it's a new day, another chance to take one down. What's going on, BJ?
Yeah, man, that's the beauty of it, right? Is that you spend a couple of weeks chasing tickets and then you kind of get humbled really quick. And like I was 0 for 4 in that tournament. But that's what DFS is about, right? New day, ready to get back at it. So, interesting slate to dive into and then to kind of touch on the California fire stuff. Shout out, prayers up to everybody that's affected by it. Go send something positive to Scarface. He had some unfortunate stuff go down with him. So reach out to him on Twitter, let him know you're thinking about him. Make sure everybody's safe over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just devastation all across the board. And, when you know somebody, we kind of know Jerry Scarface just from being in the community. So, yeah, shout out, prayers up for Jerry and everybody else out there affected. We're going to try to get through this NBA slate, 7 games. And it is injury riddled tonight. We got a bunch of superstars on the shelf. We got a bunch of complimentary pieces on the shelf. And we're going to try to break it all down for you the best we can. Hello, everybody that's in chat. All 60 of you. Make sure you hit that like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We certainly appreciate it. Try to get up to 100 likes like we did on Monday. We'll give out a couple of plays of the day at the end of the day. So let's get right into it. Like I said, first game on the slate, and there is a bunch of injuries to go through. We have the Golden State Warriors at the Indiana Pacers. No Stephen Curry, no Draymond Green. Trace Jackson Davis is questionable, not looking like he's going to play. Jonathan Kuminga is out. Gary Payton is out. Brandon Podziemski has been out. Andrew Wiggins is out. And then on the Pacers side, no major injuries. Everybody's out that's been out, but Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner are questionable. Those are the injuries, BJ. Break it down for me. Let's talk a little bit about this one.
Yeah, no, so this is going to be really interesting and kind of set the pace for the whole slate. I'm happy that it's an early game and not on the West Coast because then we'll be waiting all night. But I think we can narrow it down prior to what, when the news comes out. Let's start first. Jackson Davis is questionable. His tag is up to 5,500. Let me make sure that's correct. 5,500. I don't believe he plays. The midday downgrade. If he does play, I will have some interest. But because of that, I'm going to make, some bumps to Looney here at 3,200. We'll start with the big guys down there. I mean, Looney, we played 21 minutes last night for 28 DraftKings points. But what's interesting about this whole situation is everybody on the Warriors seems to be in play. They have 6 or 7 guys that are rating as some of the top point per dollar plays in the entire slate. And just to kind of go down some of these minutes that we saw last night, TJD played 26 minutes for 32 DraftKings points. Schroeder played 35 minutes for 25 DraftKings points. He is a combined 2 for 14 from the 3-point line over the last 3 games. But these professional basketball players, I don't anticipate that to continue. And, the field will agree. When lineups come out, I think he's going to get a touch above 20%. Worst case. So he will be popular. I'm going to check the box for him as one of my favorite plays. Same goes for Buddy. I mean, Buddy just a week ago was in the doghouse, not getting any minutes. And then he shows up and took 11 threes last night in 32 minutes for 34 DraftKings points. A couple other names to touch on. Lindy Waters played 19 minutes. He could see an increase today. And then Santos at 26 minutes last night for 27 DraftKings points at a minimum price, $3,000. He'll certainly be in play. But the sneaky one that I'm kind of thinking about, I don't know how sneaky right now. He is looking sneaky at 5% ownership. It is slow-mo Kyle Anderson. He played 9 minutes last night and had 14.8 DraftKings points. I believe this is going to be a spot that I'm going to, attack with the Santos stuff coming off the bench. But those are going to be my favorite. Obviously, Schroeder is going to be popular. Obviously, Buddy's going to be popular. But I'm going to look to get a little bit different, especially if that ownership stays low. I will be smashing slow-mo, especially with the blowout risk. I mean, the Warriors losing all these pieces. Vegas has it at 8 right now. I anticipate that goes up a little bit before game time. But to finish the Warriors side, they're all great plays. And I think, your production and how well you're going to do on the slate is going to be how well you are going to be able to target these pieces. Jumping over to the Pacers side, I hope personally Halliburton misses. I mean, he's questionable. I don't really have a lean if he plays or not. But if he does play, I won't get any interest. The Warriors are real strong versus the ball handler and pick and rolls. At 8,600 versus a banged up Warriors team with essentially nobody playing. I don't want to play with fire at that price tag with possible blowout. But I will play with fire with Nembhard, Mathurin, and Siakam. So obviously with Draymond out, that'll be the headline. Siakam at 7,200 was popular the other night. Didn't get any blowout run as a few other starters did. But he's going to be my favorite at 7,200. I think it's a great spot, especially an extra bump if Miles Turner was to miss. If Miles Turner misses, I mean, he'll be in my core, and I'll lock him in the lineups that I make at 7,200, as I think he could outproduce that tag in 3 quarters if this game does get out of hand. But the kind of secondary plays after that are Nembhard and Mathurin, both fair prices, maybe a touch too cheap for a good matchup. The Warriors give up the 6th most catch and shoot points. And that's kind of where I stand. No Halliburton for me. Siakam well ahead of everybody else on the team, followed by the guards that have the potential to not only catch and shoot, but attack the rim. Those would be my favorite. If Halliburton does miss, I think TJ McConnell will be good chalk at 3,700.
When you talk about Siakam 7,200, talking about putting him in your core, locking him in, whatever you want to call it. How many points does he need, do you think, in order to be on the winner? Because where I'm going with that is if you look at his his scores, I mean, his ceiling is like 43 with a floor of around 31. I mean, how many points does he need at 7,200 to be on the winner?
Yeah, I think he's going to have to get to 40. I think 72, just do your traditional math. I mean, you are always in cash games, kind of old school, thought process, but you want to get your 5X to 6X value. Obviously, haven't really seen the crazy upside, but some of these games haven't really been close. So, like I said, Chicago, I think he had 2 or 3 minutes played in the 4th quarter, so didn't get that extra run. Versus Brooklyn, 14-point game, he only played 24 minutes, was able to produce in that. The Phoenix game, I can't really remember if that was a blowout or not, but he played 34 minutes. But what I'm intrigued is to start the season, he wasn't as productive from the field. And you start to look at some of these games, like last time out, he was 11 for 17. He hit 3 threes. I just think this is a spot where we're going to want to be ahead of the curve. And not want to play a popular Siakam next time out if Halliburton was to miss another game after he would be able to pour in 30 real life points.
Yeah, no, good breakdown there. What about Moody for the Warriors? Andrew Martinez wants to know about that. Did you touch on Moody at all?
Yeah, I mean, he's projecting okay. With everything going on, I mean, I wouldn't be super surprised to see him start with all the injuries. But he would be down my list. I mean, when you're looking at 3,600 from him, I think I'd rather get a little bit sneaky with Kyle Anderson at 3,500 or Santos off the bench at 3K. He would be another guy too. I would whip up the game logs really quick, but he hasn't shown extreme upside the last couple times out. I mean, obviously versus Cleveland and the Clippers, what was that going to be 2 weeks ago? He went for 23 and 26 DraftKings points. But I think that is going to be the ceiling for him. His minutes are spread out all over the place, and we could project him somewhere in the 20s, I would guess, with all the injuries. But I think I'd just rather take shots in other places with guys that, produced last night. I mean, Santos played 26 minutes, which is what we could kind of produce with Moody or project with Moody. And he scored 27 DraftKings points, which would be more points than Moody scored in the last 15 games.
Yeah, and at 3K too, right? Anybody that's playing 26 minutes at 3K in Santos, I think that's an excellent play for the Warriors. Moving on to the next game, it's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks heading into Orlando to take on the Magic. We get Paolo Banchero back. No major injuries that I'm seeing for the Bucks. On the other side, we have a laundry list. Jalen Suggs is out. The Wagner brothers are out again. And former slam dunk champion Mac McClung will not be in the lineup tonight for the Magic. Hate to see that. Anytime he's not in the lineup, it's always a sad day in Orlando. But talk to me a little bit about this. I see Newens just popped into the chat. I know he wanted to listen to the Bucks and then get on out of here. So Bucks at the Magic.
It's funny you bring up the everybody's favorite white boy number 2. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, how tall is he? Like 5'9" or something?
I don't know, but his high school tapes are sick though.
That's what I was gonna say, man. We missed those. I mean, looking back, like guys like Gabe York and some of these guys, those kind of fitted with the same. But my all-time favorite is gonna be Gabe York down there in Orange Lutheran. But back to this game. Bucks and Magic. Yeah, Giannis, Middleton, Lillard, they're all going to play. I mean, Ryan Rollins is questionable. I don't think that shakes up too much. But this isn't a game I have a ton of interest with. It's the Bucks are the 3rd best rim defense in the league, which when we look at the Magic side, I mean, Cole Anthony, he will be popular for the role that he's had, but his price tag is kind of starting to sneak up to where, you kind of start to second guess. As of right now, if the slate started now, I would be on team fade at 5,500, especially if the ownership is going to be, a quarter of the entrants are going to have them. So I'll be off that. But, just the Banchero stuff being back, I mean, what would you say? I mean, we kind of talked about a pre-show. I forgot what you said, but can we both agree, like, it's going to be like mid-20s with like a cap of what? Like, we haven't projected for 30, I think. I think that might be a minute or two high. So what are you thinking, like 25 to 28 minutes?
Yeah. I definitely don't think 30. I would say somewhere 22 to 25, right? Depending on the game flow. I mean, if the Bucks, do Bucks things and get out to a big lead, maybe not as much, but I mean, first game back in a couple months, I just don't think they're gonna push them. I mean, this team, surprisingly to me, has held its own, so to speak. With all the injuries that they've had, if they want to make any kind of run, late in the season, they're going to need a healthy Banchero. So just no sense of running him back. It's not like, the Major League Baseball to where, you're doing some rehab starts. I know they're probably doing some 5-on-5 and whatever in practice, but, once you get out there under the lights, it's not the same. So, yeah, I think 22 to 25 minutes. I think he's too pricey to play tonight, my personal self. I don't know if you're in that same field or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely not on DraftKings. I'm not really super in touch with the FanDuel stuff, but I mean, we always want to target places where the DraftKings or FanDuel prices have such a different or a price discrepancy. But like you said, I mean, mid-20s minutes to 8,200. I don't think it's going to be a good play. It'll be a bad play. But no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, the Magic with all these injuries are still one of the best rim defenses and one of the best catch and shoot defenses in the league. So therefore, with Banchero back, I don't love anything here. And I think it's going to take away some usage, obviously, from Cole Anthony. So I don't love that there. With the next thought process would be Goga. I mean, his price is getting up there at 6,800, but the Bucks have, like I said, the 3rd best rim defense in the league. So as of right now, if the slate started in 5 minutes, I would have no exposure to the Magic. And I think like the interesting part about this slate is when you jump over to the Bucks side, like I don't love the Giannis stuff. But if he is going to be low owned, like we have him at 6%, I think we're going to have enough value to be able to play a couple of mid-tier guys and maybe Giannis in the same lineup. He is flirting with the 12K price tag. And yes, it is a tough matchup, but like Rio alluded to in the slate plan, he went for 37 points in 36 minutes last month versus his team. So he is matchup proof, and I'm starting to kind of lean my way a little bit more into the Giannis camp. A couple weeks ago, I kind of went on record saying, I don't think he's a very fundamental basketball player and it's more of a size thing, but DFS, it doesn't matter. He racks up points. So he'll be my favorite play, from the game. As we break down like the Dame stuff, I mean, he's an okay play at sub 9K. This matchup, isn't the best, obviously, but with no Suggs, I mean, you get Dame Lillard versus Cole Anthony. I think he'll get some KCP on the other side. So don't really love it, but I could see how you want to get there to a sneaky Dame if you're fading Giannis. So, and then the last guy I'll touch on is AJ Green. I mean, 3,400, been playing well. He had like 4 threes or something last time out. 3,400. Interesting to see. I mean, obviously the Magic are really good versus the catch and shoot, but I don't know if this is really a close game and he might get a little bit extra run. But no real love here at all in this game. I guess the last person I'll mention, and then you could jump in with anything that I'm missing, but Brook Lopez at 5,300, not a fantastic matchup, but I think he could be able to take advantage and bring Goga out and hit some threes at 5,300, and that would be a super low-owned play.
Yeah, Brook's been playing better of late. I watched that game against the Spurs the other night. He hit a couple threes early. Yeah, Giannis. Yeah, you talk about it. I mean, this Magic defense, I'm with you that he won't be that owned. What do we have him at?
7%.
Yeah, 7%. I mean, anytime you get Giannis around 7%, I don't think it's a terrible play. Definitely worse plays out there, especially in GPPs. So yeah, no, excellent breakdown there. Moving on to the next game, another game littered with injuries. We have the Pelicans going into Philadelphia. Brandon Ingram out, Herb Jones out, Trey Murphy out, DeJounte Murray is questionable. That's the big piece. If he's out, let's talk about who we like there. Then on the other side, Joel Embiid's missing another game. Andre Drummond missing another game. Paul George will play in this one. And Kyle Lowry has been out for quite some time. And I saw the alert last night, BJ. Jared McCain, done for the season, should have some pretty good-looking nails when the season starts back next year. So talk to me a little bit about this game. Pelicans at the 76ers.
Hey, really, you bring up painted nails. Did Caleb Williams really get his O-line appointments with his nail guy? I saw it. I don't know if it was real. I don't know if you heard.
I didn't see that, but I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but I did not see that.
Yeah, other quarterbacks get cars and golf carts and ATVs, and if you're a Bears offensive lineman, you get a nice nail appointment. But no jokes or no more jokes. Moving on. This is an interesting game for me, and if you've been making lineups every night and paying attention to kind of the NBA kind of scope, we want to target teams versus the Pelicans. So. There's a ton of good plays on the 76ers side. We'll start there with no Embiid, no Drummond, and Paul George back. We kind of find ourselves in this weird mix of like, well, we feel obligated to play a Sixer with Yabu, at 5,500. He's been playing awesome. Paul George, his price is too low, in my opinion. I think it should be like 8-1, 8-2. 7,500 will make him popular as we have him at 31%. And then Maxey at 9,400. Who didn't have a bad game, but certainly didn't have a good game. I mean, a couple nights ago, who were they playing that night? It was the 888 night. I can't remember, but he was like almost 50% owned with Yabu at 50% and Kelly Oubre at 78%. So I think the field will gravitate. Washington, yeah. So I feel like the field will gravitate here, and rightfully so. Like I said pre-show, I said if the slate started in like 3 or 4 minutes, I would want to get to at least 2 of these guys. But it will be, a struggle for me to find a Pelican that I really do like. So for the 76ers side, I mean, Yabu, too cheap, take advantage. Kelly Oubre, too cheap, take advantage. Even with Paul George back. Paul George, too cheap, take advantage. But the biggest one I have here, and I think, as we get closer to the slate, I think Paul George's ownership will go up a little with Kelly Oubre, and I think Maxey's might come down. And if that's the case, I want all the Maxey. I wrote here flop lag here with the cake matchup. So that's what I'll be targeting at 9,400. So that'll be my favorite. If you are playing Maxey, Paul George, and Yabu together, which, we're kind of attacking, what could be the 3 top scorers from the slate, or mix in one of those pieces and play Kelly Oubre or even a Caleb Martin, we're going to want a Pelicans piece on the other side. And now that Zion's back, I anticipate him getting his 28 minutes again, 29 minutes, maybe 30. I think at the 9K price tag, though, like the Banchero stuff, we can't get to it. But if all these guys are in, it's tough because, these prices are priced for guys that did not have Zion in the lineup. So Murray at 85, CJ at 78, Misi at 56. Those guys will all become secondary plays for me. Zion isn't on the list, but just him being on the floor and taking up usage and, being around the rim for rebounds, it's going to downgrade all these guys. Now, if Murray was to miss, I'll let you dive in on it, but you said pre-show you would like CJ, and I would agree. But that's really all that I see here with me wanting some 76ers, but really struggling to find, Pelicans that I like to roster.
Yeah, I mean, if DeJounte misses, I love CJ. The one thing that scares me is that with PG-13 coming back, I mean, I think that's got to eat into Oubre or Yabu's upside. Your take on that? I mean, Kelly Oubre is way too cheap. I think you're right. Yabu's way too cheap. But there's only one basketball, and PG's going to want to get his because he's not. So that kind of scares me. So if PG's back, I think I would like max 2 of those 76ers. Are you maxing 2, or kind of where are you at with that?
I think you could get away with like a max 3, and that would be making the decision between Maxey or Paul George, and then playing that person with Yabu and like Kelly Oubre. So the Yabu stuff, first of all, I couldn't agree more. Paul George is obviously going to demand the ball. not pass, kind of take his shot. And that's why he's a popular click at 75. But with Yabu, obviously has the double-double upside. He can hit threes, kind of spreads the floor as a stretch 4 playing 5. So I wouldn't mind him with either one of those guys. And the same goes for Kelly Oubre. I think with both those guys on the floor, it opens up looks for him around the three-point line, and he can contribute to the stat sheet with stocks. And I think at 5,700, we've just seen too many games over the last couple of months where everybody is on, another piece of the 76ers team, and Kelly Oubre hits a couple of threes and gets a block and a steal for a layup, and all of a sudden in the first quarter, he has like 16 fantasy points.
Yep. Knocks a breakdown there. Moving on to the next game. Should be a decent game. I wish all the players were playing. No De'Aaron Fox. That's the big news coming out of this next one. We have the Kings headed into Boston to take on the world champs. The cover boy, Domantas Sabonis, should be in line for a lot more shots tonight with no Fox. On the Boston side, I don't see anybody that's out. Looks like they're going to have everybody. Correct me if I'm wrong there, BJ, but Kings at the Celtics.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Walsh is questionable. That doesn't affect anything. But this is a really interesting spot here because, yeah, I think, the game would be a little closer if Fox was out. So we got
in there.
We got
pronunciations.
We got the grammar
police. I like that.
We got the grammar police, the pronunciation police. We got it, man. We got the full squad over here. I love it. Rio, what's up, buddy? But yeah, so this Kings Celtics game, I mean, obviously with Sabonis out, we're going to want to attack, with Fox out, we're going to want to attack Sabonis, DeRozan, Monk. I think it's going to be Monk for me over the cover boy. In the 2 games this season versus Boston, Sabonis has scored 16 and 13 points, real life points, that is, not fantasy points. But I think this is just too tough of a matchup. I think they're going to play a lot in the half court. The Kings, recently their transition defense is great. They're not giving up rim points. And they're giving up a bunch of catch and shoots. So I just think the style of this game is going to be a lot of half court, a little bit slower than normal, even though the total is almost 230. But just the price tag might be a little too high. I might want to get to other pieces. Like I said, I do enjoy the Maxey stuff around the same tag versus Sabonis. And the Monk stuff is great. I mean, over the last couple of games, I mean, the touch time is way up. The drives are up. The potential assists are up. Obviously, with Fox out, he'll become the number 1 ball handling option. So I'm leaning Monk here as my favorite play, and then putting Sabonis and DeRozan as kind of secondary plays from the King side. And that's pretty much it. Let me take one more peek here. Aside from Keon Ellis. So, I absolutely love watching a basketball game and have everybody in the Discord throwing their takes. And Real was all over the Keon Ellis stuff. Guy's a hooper, been playing well. 4K's too cheap. He's going to be on the floor, rebounds hard, rebounds well, can hit the open shot. And I think this would be a good spot here. When we get to the Celtics side, I'll talk about my favorite piece. But I think this is a good spot here that people might be off of the game as a game stack because of the potential blowout at almost 11 points, 11-point favorites for the Celtics. But I think this is a spot to go like a Monk Ellis with a piece or two from the Celtics side. I don't think you can go like Monk and Sabonis. I think like to win a tournament, those prices, this might be too high. I mean, we're looking at it's going to be 16.4 in total price. So if you're at 16.4 times the 5, I mean, you're going to have to get somewhere between, I mean, this is quick math, but I mean, you're going to have to, produce really well with both of those guys and get a high fantasy production night from them if you're paying that much in salary. So don't really love it, but I love the Ellis stuff. He'll get ownership as we get closer to lock at 4K. But that's kind of where I stand. So Monk ahead of Ellis, who would become second as a value play, followed by DeRozan and Sabonis. Then when we jump over to the Celtics side, like I said, the Kings are giving up a bunch of catch and shoot stuff. They have really good transition D of late. They're not giving up stuff at the rim. They're like really packing the paint. And if that's the case, like I want to play Tatum. Like at 10-3, he's going to edge out Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown will, he's more of like in these games that go up and down, he benefits more, I believe, from the transition stuff. So I'll lean the half court guy that we could just see pick and rolls, Tatum getting mismatches in the pick and roll, and then kind of playing a little bit of ISO one-on-one stuff from the wing. So he'll profile as my favorite play, along with Porzingis. I mean, Porzingis at 7K, obviously a little bit tougher of a matchup with Sabonis, but I mean, Porzingis has the ability to hit shots from deep. 7K for what could be like 32 minutes of game time is just too cheap. So those will be my two favorite plays. And then I'll throw Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, White. I'll even throw Al Horford in the mix because I think he'll, get some playing time here with the matchup stuff with Porzingis off the floor. Have to take care of Sabonis. Those guys are all just secondary plays for me. I think, the three guards, they're, like I said earlier, they're going to, play better and more productive in these transition games, especially at the tag. So that's kind of where I sit on this game. Don't love it, but I think this is a sneaky spot to get, some mini game stacks going. Like if you win a Tatum and Porzingis on one side to like a Monk and an Ellis, now it eats us some salary, but we have enough value on the slate to be able to make it happen.
Yeah, I don't mind some Derek White if they're so bad at shooting, transition defense. Hey, and
they're good versus it. They're good versus it.
No, they're good. They're no. The 3-pointer.
Oh, catch and shoot. Yeah.
And then I'm going to go against you and Hebrew Cheetah, man. Keon Ellis is terrible at basketball. I know you love him. I said it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I said don't play him at like 3K. He played 49 minutes the other night, so it's tough not to, and I know it went to double overtime, but man, I think he's terrible. But Hebrew's all over him as well, so I'm probably wrong in saying that. But at 4K, not the worst guy on the slate. Moving on.
Real quick, too, and Hebrew, you can dive in, or anybody else in chat. They get Doug Christie coaching. I think he's coached 5 or 6 games. They've won 5 straight or something like that. They've got to light the beam, do the whole thing. And Ellis is a part of all that stuff, right? So that's my take on it is now a little bit change in the coaching, obviously with no Mike Brown. I think he's going to be on the floor. And that's kind of why, how a team kind of revamps when they get, a new coach in the middle of the season. So that's kind of why I'm kind of edging toward that.
And no De'Aaron Fox either. So, it makes sense. I don't know. I just don't think he's any good. But at 4K, he certainly could pay off that tag. But give me some Derek White. Moving on to the next game, marquee game in terms of real-life basketball. We have the Thunder heading into New York to take on the Knicks. We got the reunion between the former Wildcat, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Karl Anthony Towns. So it should be a good one. Got Tambo's Canadian boy taking on Cat. Talk to me about this game. Lou Dort popping off in the optimals like we talked about pre-show. Knicks fully healthy. Had some, have played bad basketball this week, actually, rematch of last Friday night's game where there was a lot of chatter back and forth within the Discord, and it looked bleak for the Thunder early, but they came back, got a double-digit win. But Thunder -4 at New York. Talk to me about this one, BJ.
Yeah, no, we'll start there with kind of how you led it with the Dort stuff. I mean, when you run the optimal on the site, we're getting some Lou Dort spitting out. And I just think that's just 4K playing 30 minutes. Teams are going to let him shoot. When you have Jalen Williams, Shea, Hartenstein, you're going to let, take away those guys and let guys like Dort and Wallace beat you. Don't hate the 4K stuff, especially if you're kind of getting in this game. But the headline here is Shea at Madison Square Garden. So I love it. I think this is a slate that we have, the potential to get multiple value pieces in, and therefore we're able to get multiple studs. But he's by far going to be probably, my favorite play on this slate as we get closer to lock. The Knicks haven't been terrible. They're the 8th best defense over the last month, 6 weeks or so. But it's I don't think, he falls into a guy that we worry about matchups. He's going to be matchup proof just like everybody else. And we kind of talked about it in the past, with the Cavs stuff or these the Thunder stuff. When you see a spread this tight, these prices are, they blow out in a lot of games. So, Shea at 10-4, if he played more closer games, where games, they weren't blowing teams out, he would be, 11K where he should be. So I want to take advantage of some of these teams, like the Cavs, like the Thunder. I guess you can, start to get that way with the Nuggets stuff. But these guys are projected. Their salaries are for games where they don't get full run. And tonight's going to be a full run game. Madison Square Garden, Shea 10-4, lock it up. As far as the Jalen Williams stuff and the Harden stuff goes, I'm not really in love with it. Jalen Williams is going to get OG most likely, and that's a pretty tough matchup. Hardenstein hasn't been playing awesome. I know he gets Karl Anthony Towns on the other side, but don't really love it there. In this previous matchup, Jalen Williams had 20 points in 38 minutes. I don't think there's enough upside at 8-3 to have him produce. And then jumping over to the Knicks side, I'm not going to get very many of these pieces. Now, we'll talk through it because, we obviously have to break it down, but The Thunder are like one of the best teams, defensively in the entire league. So they're really good versus the ball handler in the pick and roll. So I definitely don't want Brunson at almost 9K. So I'll cross him off. I mean, you can always go to the cat stuff if he ends up playing at 10K. You take a little bit of advantage there, but don't love it at 10K. I'd rather just spend the extra 400 and get to Shea. And then we talk about Bridges, Hart, and OG. I think, with the recent production over the last few weeks, these prices are a little up. And you can make a case for all these guys playing because it's the amount of minutes that they play and how much production they can have in good spots. But I just don't think this is a very good spot. If you have anything else in this game, let me know, or if I'm a little too tough on the Knicks situation. But I don't think you've made very much money this year if you've been targeting teams against the Thunder.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. The one thing I would say is the Knicks are slated to score 111 points. This is a rematch of the game 7 nights ago, and every single starter played 40-plus minutes. I think they want to win this game for whatever reason. We know how Tibbs is. He likes to play his dudes. Give me some Bridges at 6,300, a guy that can do multiple things, and he's going to play 40-plus minutes and get all the minutes he can handle. I get it that the Thunder, whether they're the best or one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, but hey, if we're going to score 111 points, I think Bridges is going to have his hand in that. So he would be my favorite, but I wouldn't hate any of these Knicks in GPPs because you're almost going to play guaranteed 40 minutes. That's just my thinking.
No, absolutely. And I don't disagree with that at all. So, now that you say that, I mean, we've seen in the past with just one injury, you look at some of these, big time players that are playing these smaller field stuff, and you look at them, they'll run 4, even 5 Knicks at a time in these smaller GPPs. And that just makes sense because it just eat up so many minutes and so much production.
Yes. So many. Yeah. And the Hebrews on Mikal Bridges as well. Don't want to call him Michael. I might get policed in the chat if I call him Michael. So we'll call him by his
Big
right
Mike,
name.
dude. Big Mike.
They just beat Cleveland last night. They being who? Did the Knicks play Cleveland last night? I know the Thunder played Cleveland the other night.
But Thunder played Cleveland, and Cleveland beat the Thunder. Like I said, wasn't super dialed into how games finished last night. I had one too many Coors Lights, so
yeah,
which is crazy. I talked about it pre-show, dude. I'm getting old. If Coors Lights are putting me out, and now I'm waking up a little banged up.
Yeah. Moving on to the next game. If you haven't already done so, please hit that like button for us. It certainly help us out a ton. Had 250 in here watching. Let's get to 100 likes to give out some of BJ's favorite plays of the day. Next game up on the slate is going to be one that's going to be very popular, in my opinion, BJ. We have the Wizards heading into Chicago to take on the Bulls. No major injury news. Malcolm Brogdon is out. That's somewhat big. Ayo Dosunmu is out for the Bulls. Everybody else is in play from what I'm telling. That is going to make a difference. So Zach LaVine should be popular tonight. Talk to me. We always want to talk about a pool party. Is it a pool party tonight? Any other Wizards, any other Bulls that you like? Should be an up and down affair. You can see the spread. You can see the total there. Talk to me a little bit about this one.
Yeah. Shout out Ricky Rose. He knows Big Mike. So, I'll get that out. But no, this is the game. I mean, a couple other things. I mean, Poole is questionable. Sar is questionable. Torrey Craig, I don't know. I clicked on a Twitter link. I saw
that too. We're not going to get into his personal life. I did see that as well.
But anyway, he's out with Megan Thee Stallion type stuff. But and the last one is Holmes. So this is what's really interesting about the whole slate is obviously 243. If my math is right, it's like 244, whatever it is. We want to target this game, but this is going to be my favorite spot. And that is Washington bigs tonight, whoever it's going to be. If it's going to be Sar, if it's going to be Joval, if it's going to be Holmes. Holmes did close over Joval last time out. Joval, I don't think, got any fourth quarter run. Obviously, Joval still played really well, but he got some coach speak, said he was great defensively and get some more minutes for him and get used to closing games. So those will headline it. I think Poole is going to play. So if Poole plays, I mean, he's in okay. We're going to have to talk to Sean Sullivan whether or not it's a pool party or not. If he is out, bump Bub Carrington at 4,600. He's taken over a large amount of that role. He had almost 5 minutes of touch time with no Poole. So I really like him. Koulibaly at 6'3", I think that price is a little bit too much. And even the Kyle Kuzma stuff, I think at 6'4", I mean, he was a popular play 2 nights out ago, and he played the first half, did not come back. He ended up playing the night after with the ankle injury, and he was like essentially unowned. But in that game, it just kind of looked like he was just a shooter. He wasn't really attacking the rim. It didn't look like he had a bunch of touch time. Really wasn't demanding the basketball. And at 6'4", if other people are going to go there, I know it's a high-paced matchup, but I don't really absolutely love it. But to kind of come back to how I started it, if Sarr starts at 6'1", I want to target him. If he's out and Joval starts, then it's going to bring into question, the home stuff with the Joval stuff. So that's going to be probably my favorite spot to attack in this game. And then jumping over to the Bull stuff, I mean, I wrote here you could play everybody, underline, underline, underline. I mean, it's tough to poke holes in any of these guys. I mean, Giddey at 7K, his price, is a little bit, I don't think it should be higher than Kobe White is basically what I'm trying to say. So I'll rank White higher than Giddey. The Levine stuff, I mean, yeah, his price is high, but how many times have we seen Levine in these type of matchups just hit his ceiling and just continue to go up and down? And we're going to blink in this game. If you watch this game, there's going to be so many possessions where a 3 gets hit, the ball's inbounded, 2 dribbles to another 3. And, it's just going to create more rebounds. It's going to create more points, going to create more assists. And obviously that's nothing new and that's pretty basic, but really fun to roster. So 8,100, I don't hate it at 23%, but it is a little bit of a sticker shock. And then Vooch at 85, price coming down a little bit. I think he can attack any one of these bigs that starts for the Wizards side. So I'll check the box there. So it's going to be Vooch and Levine for me, followed by Kobe White and Giddey. And then kind of the not sneaky, obviously, now that I just saw that he's 14% owned, but Jalen Smith, excuse me, Jalen Smith at 3,200. I mean, his last 3, he's gone for 22, 21, and 28 DraftKings points. He will get run in a blowout. He's been shooting really efficiently, specifically behind the 3-point line. 3,200 is pretty cheap for a guy that, can flirt with 20 minutes when he's averaging 1.21 fantasy points per minute.
What about former Gonzaga great Corey Kispert? Jay Peasy wants to know.
Yeah, he's been getting some run, and obviously he has upside with a 3-point ability. And I don't think it was last game.
His back-to-back 30-minute games. I know Poole's been out. I think if Poole comes back, that goes down some. I mean, Poole stinks, but they got to play him. But was anybody else out? I was trying to look and see. Maybe off the top of your head.
No, I mean, it's just obviously the Brogdon Bagley stuff, and then Poole is questionable. I would lean Poole playing, and if that's the case, I think like this would be a guy we want to target, kind of like at the low 4s or the high 3s. Excuse me. But at 4,500, I mean, we have other value else places. So, I mean, would you rather Kispert versus Slow-Mo, Buddy Hield, Moody, Santos? And I think the answer would be no there. But if you're game stacking, you're making a ton of lineups, this would be an off the bench piece that has upside and would help this game reach above a total if he comes in and hits some shots. So, I'm not saying to play him, but if you're making a ton of lineups, I don't absolutely hate like that in a game stack.
Yeah, and Jared Butler too. I mean, Jared Butler, 20 minutes, 44 DraftKings points last time. Rio talked about him Monday, and I had forgotten he was even in the NBA, and then I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, 44 and 20 minutes. You going back to the well there? To me, that's if Poole is out. Obviously, we know Brogdon's out, but I'm not playing him if Poole's back.
Yeah, no, so that's interesting because 2 times out, it was versus Houston. I ended up playing him. He was like 20% owned, and like it was not a good play by me at all. Like he got, excuse me, one second. It was not a good play at all. He like did not play any minutes. He was like on pace to play like 13 minutes in the game, and then he got all that blowout run and ended up scoring 14 real life. And then obviously came back versus Philly and just absolutely went off. I mean, but he only played 20 minutes. So with his price at 3.9, he's obviously shown the upside as he's been shooting the ball great. But I mean, how do you take 19 shots in 20 minutes and like assume that he can do it, especially at ownership?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I would need to see 26 plus minutes in order for him to do that. I'm with you. I think there's better guys too on this slate at 3,900 or less that are going to play 30 plus minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 games in, 1 game to go. It's the last one. Make sure you're hitting that like. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. It should be an interesting game. We obviously have the Joker. We got him in. Currently, he's missed the last couple games. We talked a little bit at pre-show. Why would you play them against a G League team? Ben Simmons back tonight. I'm not playing any of these Nets, although my boy Nick Claxton was balling the other night. But Jamal Murray's popping over here. Russell Westbrook's walking triple-double if Joker's out. Any interest in any of these Nets and any interest in any of these Nuggets? Let's assume that Joker is playing. We'll talk first about it like that.
Yeah, so the Nets are just bad, man. I mean, they're obviously the worst offensive team in the NBA with all the injuries and the trades that have happened. But it's not getting any better. So you throw Ben Simmons into the mix. I don't think that obviously helps your offense. So he'll be back tonight. He'll be on a minutes limit, so an automatic cross-off at 6K. And then when we get into guys like Keon Johnson, Zaire Williams, Clowney, Claxton, even Tyrese Martin off the bench, those guys absolutely been producing. And you needed multiple Nets, to have a good night a few nights back. But all these prices have now reached points where it really makes you think about it. So I don't want to play a Keon Johnson, a Zaire Williams, a Clowney at those tags where you're going to have to produce into the 30s to create a lineup where you have a chance at winning in tournaments. All of those tags are going to equal mid-30s in fantasy points for you to have a chance. And when we throw in a 15-point spread, or it went down a half point, so 14.5-point spread, I don't see. I mean, I think it's it would obviously be better for the Nets if Joker sat. And like we said pre-show, it doesn't make any sense why he would come back. They're at home, no need to travel, stay at home. Get better because, they're playing better basketball as of late. So, but anyways, to finish with the net stuff, I mean, it's such a shame this is the last game on the slate because don't really love anything here. I mean, you can make a case for some of these guys in the mid tier, but I don't see much upside at all from any of these guys at the tags. And then when we jump over to the Nuggets side, Jordan got the start over Joker, obviously with him being out. He produced well. What did he have? He had mid-20s in DraftKings, so he might have got up to 30. I can't remember the exact. But obviously love that. You can go back to him at the well at 3,500 if Joker's out. But the matchup, a little bit tougher for all these guys. Same thing with Joker being out and these guys playing bigger minutes. I mean, Murray's price is fair. Westbrook's price is up to the point where I don't necessarily want to play him. Obviously a higher floor piece, and he does have upside. But, I mean, it's pretty tough in 2025 to roster $6,900 Westbrook when he could take if Joker's back in, obviously, but if he's out, I mean, he'll take the 4th most shots on the team. So obviously fills different buckets as peripherals goes, but that price makes me really think about it. The Christian Brown stuff is noteworthy when his price is coming down to 4,600. Not much upside, but I mean, he's 4,600 and he's going to be a part of the offense. But the sneaky one, not sneaky, obviously, with 12, 13% ownership, but Strother off the bench at 34. I think if Joker's out, he really does offer upside off of the bench with a blowout possible, which he will get blowout run to compete with some of these Warriors with their value. But that's pretty much it for me. I mean, if Joker's out, the Peyton Watson stuff at 3,700, because they could go Clowney and Claxton together, and therefore, he could play some big minutes like what we saw versus the Celtics. But that's pretty much it for me. Ugly game, possible blowout. If that's the case, I like Strother off the bench in blowout run.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's tough, right? No Nets for me. And then it'd be Joker, and it's tough to play Joker last game of the night. If he gets scratched late like he did kind of the other night, like who are you going to put in? You can't put anybody in because there's no one else to go to. Looking back through the chat, I don't see anything that we need to cover off on. That's all 7 games. We certainly appreciate you tuning in. All right, I got 2 questions for you, BJ. I'm going to put you on the spot on both. One you know is coming, one you don't know. Let's give the people our play of the day. Then I want you to tell me. I don't know if you're a college football guy. You going Buckeyes or you going Longhorns tonight?
We'll start with the college football stuff. I don't know anything about college football, but after a couple beers, Christmas Eve, they were asking me about, hey, Ohio State. And I was like, oh, they have to fire Ryan Day, right? You know what I mean? Like just me talking out of my ass. I was like, because you have to beat Michigan and he can't beat Michigan. So selfishly saying that I want them to lose so that I could be right at the family party. So that's the route that I'll go. But like I said, don't know a damn thing about that. I wish I did because, there's so many players and it's such a fun sport, but haven't really gotten into that stuff. But as far as my favorite play, I mean, I'll give like the stud play I think of the day is going to be Shea at the Garden. I think I want to attack him at, just over 10K at 10-4. He'll be my favorite play. And I'll go down on record saying that I think my second favorite play, almost the first, is whoever is going to start at center for that Wizards team, whether it's Sarr, whether it's Joval, whether it's Holmes. I think, you can make the case that that is almost going to be a must play with the high total and the great matchup versus Vooch.
There we go. Go a little SGA. Come back with my boy, Big Mike Bridges in the lineup for the Knicks, playing 40-plus minutes. We appreciate all 260 of you tuning in. Hit that like button on the way out. And if you aren't a member over at the Nation, here's a little bit what we got to offer. We got projections. We got showdown content 5 nights a week. We got the Stone, which we just went through. GPP Core Report, which myself, BJ, and Hebrew Cheetah every day of the week have a core report titled Us the Cash over here. Slate plan, which is just spot on, night in and night out, best in the business. Then we have the slate info, everything for you over here at SHIPIT Nation. Head on over there now. Enter the promo code PGA100. That will get you $100 off an annual membership over here at the Nation for your PGA. For my guy, BJ, I am Ham. Everybody have a safe weekend. I'm headed out to build a snowman. Enjoy your contest. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards. Let's ship it.